Hey, how you guys doing? Is anybody there? Never looks like this thing's working at first. Maybe because it's not. I have no idea. Hello? Oh well, we'll figure it out. I want to do a bunch of topics, but I just haven't managed to find the time. I was going to try to do one on. Hello? There. Maybe I'm just blind. I can't tell. Okay. I want to do a bunch of topics, but I haven't been able to find the time or make the time actually. I wanted to do one on the wood gatherer, but it's a really interesting one. But this is more important because it's right now. No regrets. It's important not to regret your good deeds if they're really good, if they're mitzvot. I can't remember how I found this the other day. It was in my notes, and it was probably because what happened. I was thinking about it, that's why. See, that's why you got to learn as much Torah as possible, so you have these things in your head. So when something that would catch someone that doesn't know this stuff off guard and send them into basically a spiritual death spiral, you can catch it real early and shoot it down. But in Stump Rabbi 133, I think, Rabbi Reuven goes over some of Rambam's Hilchot Teshuvah, the laws of repentance, and I think around the 1 hour mark, he says goes over Hilchot Teshuvah 3:3, and this is some terrifying stuff, like how serious the judgment is on the tiniest things, for not just for the righteous people, for everybody. Anyone who changes his mind regretting the mitzvot he has performed, all the commandments, saying in his heart, I wish I hadn't performed them, he loses all the merit for all the good that he did. Even if he's righteous the entire year, but on the last day, like on Rosh Hashanah, or like the day before Rosh Hashanah, before the judgment, he sees someone, like some of his old friends or something, that are still complete criminals in the eyes of God, and they look like they're just living it up, they're having a good old time. They are, going on vacation, or just got back from vacation. They bought a new car. They just got moved into a new house, or they renovated their house, or they won the lottery, whatever it is, and they're committing gobs and gobs of sins, and they're just having a great time. Looks like they're just, walking on cloud nine. And that person looks at them and thinks to himself, why have I done all this? I could be doing that. I don't have to guard my eyes. I don't have to, I don't have to be so honest in my business. I don't have to not wait. I can commit all kinds of immorality crimes. I can be a complete evil monster. What am I doing all this for? All he has to do is think that in his heart, say it in his own head. And he loses everything, all the merit they earned the entire year, and he gets counted as wicked and sealed. Unless he realizes, well, for a goy, there's no leeway period. I found that out last year. Rosh Hashanah is the judgment. That's it. That's, there's a lot of reasons why it's advantageous for a person, if they at all have the possibility or capability or inclination to convert for real. It is 1,000,000% worthwhile, because there's so many advantages and so much additional mercy that God gives to Jews than He does even to the righteous among the nations. But Rambam brings a verse from Ezekiel chapter 33, verse 12. The righteousness of the righteous shall not deliver him in the day of his transgression. Rambam says this is only if he regrets his mitzvot. If he doesn't, if he's not if he's not I don't know how to put the double, if he doesn't do that, if he holds on to all of it and doesn't regret, then even if he does commit a sin, not intentionally, if it's an accidental, something where he just did not have the strength to overpower the Yetzirah, the Satan, then he is still not judged as wicked. Is all his previous deeds stand in his merit in heaven, and every good deed we commit or do creates an angel. Some of them are like little tiny ones. Some of them are just huge, just massive, gigantic, bigger than we could even, bigger than the sun, just huge, scary good. And so all those angels that we created from our good deeds, from our mitzvot, they stand in our defense if we accidentally or slipped up in something. God forbid that should occur. But the reason why this came in my head, and I searched through my notes to find, but I remembered something, and I couldn't remember what it was. But I was, I've been trying to. Rabbi Reuven says we need to. The only way to test or grow your emunah and bitachon, your confidence and faith in God, is to flex it. You got to work it out like you're lifted weights. And so you gotta put yourself in a position where it's or you gotta give yourself where you're lifting something you don't think you can, but it's heavier than what you lifted before, and you give it a shot. And one of the hardest tests is with money. We're Job says in the book of Job, the prophet Job, man was made to toil. There's no such thing as a person that sits on this earth and doesn't do anything. God will, if we try to sit around and do nothing, God will give us stuff to do, and we won't like it. So we can either work what the sages call the yoke of government and worldly affairs, or we can, I'm not sure how much this applies to goyim, but I'm trying to do it as much as possible, just because I can. I know it's good. Or we can take upon ourselves the yoke of God, of Torah and commandments, and for the non-Jews, we don't have like barely anything. So it's like it's really a small yoke. But there's ways we can beef it up if we help people, however we possibly can. Oh, and I want to thank whoever prayed for me and my family, mostly. More importantly, for my family and for me. Whoever prayed, thank you, BB, and anyone else. Anyway, I'll get to the point finally. Is I did something good. I was trying to, I was trying to test my bitachon, my faith and trust in God, confidence in God, that He runs the world, and if we do stuff that's good according to Him, that we absolutely cannot lose. But this is a critical teaching that we have to like take deep into our heart and understand, because we're going to get these tests, like not just at first, they will always come. It's just we don't know when or how often. This one was pretty small, but it's still like it had been a while since I repaid or did like a donation for the theft that I'm trying to pay back, which I really have no idea what the dollar amount is, other than a lot. And I'll probably never pay it back in my entire life, but just try to keep paying away at it with whatever God gives me. So I made a donation, and then literally like less than 24 hours later, I get this bill, and it's like almost the exact same amount over what it usually is. Like the exact same amount that I owed, or that I donated. Like I gave such and such amount, and my phone bill was like had some ridiculous overcharge that was like almost exactly the amount that I donated. And the Yetzirah was like, oh, it's not exactly, that's not what it is. It's like $6 difference. I love you too, BB. You're a good man. It was $6 difference. And I thought, that's the Yetzirah trying to like convince me that it's, the two aren't related and it's not a test, and I should like freak out. I caught him and choked him around the neck and made him run away. And but when that thought popped in my head, I was like, I thought, I don't think I selected the box to pay for the fees. I thought the bank fees are probably like exactly the difference. So when the bank fees get calculated into like what I actually donated, like this, less the money not given, that the bank took for the transaction, it's almost like less than $1 difference of the amount. So that's just like extra like reinforcement. It's just another test from God. Like, why did you give the money? Did you give the money because you wanted, you wanted money back? You wanted something? You want something? Is that why you did it? Or did you do it for, because it's good? Because it's good to do. It's good. Doesn't matter what else happens. And God, well, the Yetzirah doesn't breathe. But I hope you get what I'm getting at. I was trying to describe this to somebody else a while back. It's like we have to learn to identify these certain thoughts in our head as the Yetzirah. like anything that comes to get us to deviate from the Torah, from what God says. And it takes, took me a long time to get anywhere close to where I'm at now. And I've got a long, long way to go. Because, one, the tests never end. But that's kind of the scary thing. It's like, I pray all the time, just, God, please, like, keep granting me the wisdom and the strength to outsmart and overpower the Yetzirah and pass your tests. That's really all I want. That, and to do more, to be a better servant. As somebody else says something about that the other day. Like, I've been trying to get people to come around. Baruch Hashem, I've got at least one person. It only took like I don't know how long. Years, really. I don't think they know it was years. They probably just think it was like a month or two or something like that. But it's been a long time. I've been trying to get through to some other people, and I don't know how, like, if I'm being too brutal, or like, I really just don't know. But they said basically, like, what does it matter? Slave to this or slave to that. We're all slaves. Who cares? Basically. And I need to directly answer them, but there's just like so many things to do, and I lose track of where I'm at. But it really comes down to, do you want to serve God or do you want to serve Satan? Do you want something good in your life or do you want evil? Do you want to be part of something good or do you want to be part of something evil? Because if we don't recognize who God is and follow what he says, we are part of everything evil. And we start stuffing coins into the slot of the meter that just cranks up the dial on absolute evil in the world. And I know there are some people that are really in a horrible spiritual and mental place where they think, yes, I want that. Let's do it. You really don't. Once you see what it is, once you see like the most microscopic piece of what you think you want or what you say you want, you become so disgusted and horrified. Your skin turns cold and you get goosebumps and you feel like you want to throw up, but there's nothing in your stomach, and you wish you could like upchuck the piece of meat that is your guts just to get it out of you. And that's just like the first couple of seconds, and it only gets worse from there. You feel like you want to crawl out of your own skin and rip your eyes out. That's really what it takes for some people to just realize that their whole life is wrong, and for them to beg, humble themselves and to just beg God for help. So they have no clue what in the world they've been doing their whole life. But I was telling this other guy, when we learn to identify the Yetzirah, like the good or the evil inclination versus the good inclination that's telling us to either run from God or and do all the evil things or to plant seeds of doubt in our head. We got to identify, okay, this is the Yetzirah, this is evil. You got to, like, obviously you can't grab it with your hand because you can't see it. It's not there, not physically. But you have to identify that thought and choke it out. And battle it with all the Torah that you learn. Like, whatever he's telling you, like, you know, you did this good thing, and you're getting this, you know, not good consequence. See, it doesn't matter. Even if God's real, he's just torturing you, or whatever kind of million excuses he's going to bring. You have to have your Torah learning like clenched in your other fist so you can beat him with it. Just punch him in the face, like Rabbi Reuven says. Just beat up your Yetzirah. Pound him in the dust. And the only way is to just learn absolutely as much Torah as possible. Watch as many lectures every free second, or listen to them. I don't really watch them anymore, unless I need to look at timestamps for taking notes. Generally, I just put them on my phone and put my headphones in with a notes app open and just focus, pay attention. God's here. What are you doing? This is the best stuff in the universe. Nothing else matters whatsoever. And at first, it's easy. Like I got sidetracked into thinking like I could do, like, as long as I was just listening and reading and whatever, everything was fine. I got annoyed at like other people, like interrupting my paradise. But Rabbi Reuven says, if you get like that, there's something wrong with your learning. You got to learn, like, use the Torah that you learn in order to function in the world. Like, sure, we're going to have to interact with people that are not anywhere near where we're at, or even acknowledge that God is, God exists. But we have to use our Torah learning in order to, at least get along in the world. And if people are too wicked, then, we have to know when we need to run away. And ideally, we use our Torah learning and the merits that we've gained in order to help people to see the truth and do teshuvah as well, to repent from all their evil. People are so stubborn. I really have no idea how in the world I got here. God had the mercy on me, other than just a lot of just heaps and pounds and tons of suffering that I had to go through to slowly peel back my eyelids to realize that, okay, something's going on. Something's going on here. That, and after enough digging in the dust heap of history and all the weird conspiracy theories, I finally put a few broken puzzle pieces together that just didn't make sense any other way than, like, this is true. I was telling somebody else a while back, there's only two, like, once you look at human history, and all the conspiracies, especially when you look at the Old Testament, aka the only testament in the 5 books of Moses, is everything that God says happened, continues to happen over and over and over and over and over again. Then I had to that's the hard part. Once you realize, okay, there's only 2 options: either the most ridiculous nonsense, smartest stupid people just can't get destroyed, even though they constantly get thrashed and harassed and kicked out of everywhere they go, and some other alien time machine, a bunch of ridiculous nonsense, or God is real and the Torah is real, and we got to do what it says. And everyone wants to look at option 1, because that means they don't have to do anything. They can keep listening to Alex Jones and keep wasting seed and keep being a criminal, because it's hard to accept the truth, because it means you gotta change your life. And most people just don't want to do that. But if you really look around, you keep asking for help. That's the biggest key. Is I think Rabbi Reuven said in Stump the Rabbi this week, is King David, David Melech. He had, if you read Psalms, Tehillim, his life was from a lot of people's perspectives, it doesn't really, other than being king and having a lot of stuff, a lot of it is crying to God and being chased by people trying to murder him, including one of his own sons. It doesn't sound, it doesn't sound that great. But King David would not have it any other way, because he knows that God is right there with him. And for most people, all the horrible stuff is going to happen anyway, because, at least to a large degree, because it's all consequences for our own actions. The rest is just God's mercy that we don't see as mercy most of the time. But we need all that stuff pretty much constantly in order to drive us close to him, because it's, like Rabbi Reuven says, it's human nature. The Torah says Yeshurun grew fat and kicked. Yeshurun is a word for the nation of Israel, what happened when they. And this is spoken as prophecy, because they haven't even gone into the land yet. But it's just human nature. When people get all the stuff that they want, they forget where it came from, if they even knew in the first place it all comes from God. And so there's only 2 ways to not become a wicked person. One is to constantly remind yourself, every second of the day, where everything you get comes from, whether it's good or not so good. At least in your own head, you don't I don't really like this, but this is the best thing ever. Please, God, help us get through it. Or we can have God's constant reminders, hey, Remember me? You used to talk to me all the time. Where did you go? It's good when you do that. I don't need you to talk to me. You need to talk to me. God doesn't need anything. Like Rabbi Reuven says, any deity that needs something that is not God. Any entity that needs something means it's lacking and therefore cannot be God, because God lacks nothing. God is complete. God is unaffected by any of our actions. And most of the 13 principles of faith and a lot of the stuff that Reuven talks about in this regard, it's deducible logically by anyone that would try to understand God from, as much as this is at all possible, but for a human being to understand what God is, what it would take, like the qualities for God and the creator of the universe. And there are certain things that a human being can logically deduce through reasoning. And yet the ridiculous thing is people like Manus Friedman, who call themselves philosophers, which is, if there was such a thing as irony, that would be it. But, I mean, it really doesn't philosophize other than philosophy of nonsense and Hukot Hagoyim, the philosophy and the decrees of the nations. I saw this like a who to follow thing on Twitter, and Twitter suggested his profile right next to some like literal prostitute, like an actual either some porn actress or an actual prostitute. They were like in the same block. Like they have 3 blocks of people that they float by on, like in between like ads of who to follow. And it was Manus Friedman, some Zonah, and someone else. I forget who, but and his profile doesn't say anything about Torah. It says Judaism's like most popular rabbi or something like that, and it says renowned for his books, his public speaking, inspirational speeches, and philosophy. There's absolutely nothing about Torah in his profile. And yet he is super popular. One of the false prophets that is a slick-tongued speaker. He tells people what they want to hear. Basically, just a variation of a million other different liars. Just telling them everything is fine. God loves you. You don't have to change. God owes us. That's what the deal is. When we get up to heaven, we're gonna have a serious discussion. Like you're anything. Like you're a nothing. We'll have we barely have right to run our own lives, let alone tell anyone else what to do. Especially if it disagrees with the Torah and the sages. Then we have absolutely no right, because everything. That's one thing that is critical to understand, is that all the stuff that the sages said, like I was a moron, such a moron at first. I just thought, they came up with stuff in their own head, and they had these arguments, and whoever was like a better arguer or whatever like won, and they wrote his decision down, or whoever was more popular. That is like the furthest thing from the truth. Though the key is to look at Moses, and look at, like, really read the 5 books of Moses, read the Chumash, and look at who Moses was, and how he had no opinion whatsoever. None. He completely nullified his opinion to the point where, like, what he said was essentially God's opinion. But just a few small instances where he deviated the slightest degree for a fraction of a second. But everything else was, he was a servant of God, and that God that's what God calls him. Moshe Avdi, Moses, my servant. And we can all try to be like that, to whatever degree that is possible for us now, so far away. Or we can stay where we're at, being a servant of Satan. I don't see, how like, once a person has any kind of concept of, like, that's what the deal is, those are the two choices we have. To me, it's not a choice whatsoever. As soon as I realized that's what the deal was, it was no choice. It's okay. How could you stand over there on the other side? I'm going with God, 1,000,000%. Before that, it was, fighting all the way that, any of that was even a consideration. Like, there was even two options. Most of my life, it was just, me. I know what I'm doing, even though I, deep in my heart, I had no clue. I knew I had no clue, but we don't want to admit that to ourselves, because then that means there's something wrong with us. Yeah, there's something wrong with everybody. We're like spiritually diseased, and we need a lot of help. And the only cure is the Torah and the sages, and the judges that shall be in our days, like Rabbi Reuven. I'm gonna get going. There's some stuff that's still to do. I was having it's so awesome to talk to people that have, like, the same kind of like, motivation and ideology and understanding. I was talking to someone the other day. My dad got home, and I was like, I gotta go. I gotta help my dad. And he's like, yes, it's a mitzvah. I was like, awesome. That's so awesome. What other insane person would say something, like, that's not a normal response. Sadly, it should be. Everything should be like, either yes, that's fulfilling God's will, or no, you're following Satan, you're going to commit a sin. Okay. You as well, BV. Remember, learn lots of Torah. Oh, I can't remember I talked about this. I think I went over it. I'm still trying to learn the details. It's not good to learn like the verses of the Tanakh, like from Genesis, like the 5 books of Moses plus the prophets and the writings. It's not good to learn the verses from nightfall, like sundown through, or at least nightfall when it gets dark, through like 1:30 in the morning, because this is probably gonna sound crazy, but it makes the demons jealous, and it brings like additional judgment on a person. That's one thing. Now that it gets light later, that's like extra hours to learn Torah. Let's just say that we can. It's not an issue to learn the oral Torah, which we don't really have that ability because it's forbidden for goyim. But they say commentary is considered like the oral Torah, so we can read the like the Rashi commentary or commentary in the Chumash after sundown and not get unwanted attention from the demons. And the other thing is, we can read Psalms if someone's sick at any hour. Like in as a prayer for healing, whether it's for someone else or for ourselves. Have a good day. Talk to you soon. Oh, may God grant us all the wisdom and strength to outsmart and overpower the Yetzirah, to pass the tests that He places before us, and to grab as many diamonds as we can while we're plumbing the depths of the Torah in the God's diamond mine.